This is the Environmental Protection Commission, the regular meeting and public hearing Wednesday, November 6, 2024. Continued public hearing, EPC 20-2024, PL 24-108, 104 Old Kings Highway North, 104 LLC, and 108 Old Kings Highway North, 108 LLC. To demolish existing residential structures and to construct two new three-story apartment buildings, parking, walkways, drainage, and other related features, and approximate to a water course. The properties lie along the west side of Old Kings Highway North, approximately 1,625 feet north of Brookside, and are identified as the following in the records by the Darien tax assessor. 108 Old Kings Highway North, map number 35, lot 17. The zone is DB and is approximately 0.210 acres. And 108 Old Kings Highway North, map number 35, lot number 18. The zone is DB plus or it is approximately 0.22 acres. Rick?
Chairman, we have received correspondence from Attorney Gleason granting us an extension and also asking for the matter of the board to vote and continue the hearing to the next meeting in order to develop information that the board had requested, and they're looking at alternatives to the development too. So
We need a vote.
vote.
Probably want to make a vote.
I will recommend that we take a vote on this matter.
Make a motion.
Make a motion. Sorry.
Second the motion to continue the hearing to the next, meeting scheduled.
All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. There's no new business. Old business. EPC 18-2024, PL 24-106, 150 Pear Tree Point Road, D. Bulletin, to install an in-ground pool, spa patio, drainage, and other related features proximate to wetlands. The property lies along the east side of Pear Tree Point Road, approximately 925 feet south of Crane Road, and is identified as map number 60, lot number 42. The zone is R1, and it is approximately 1.001 acres. Rick?
Mr. Chairman, if you remember at last month's meeting, there was a very detailed presentation made by staff and by the development team concerning this pool that is in special flood hazard areas and proximate to wetlands. Not on this property, but on the adjoining property. After consideration of what had been presented to date, the commission still had questions that they asked the applicant to address. Those were put into a letter dated October 14, 2024, and included a clear depiction of the wetlands on the adjoining properties, further discussion of alternatives to reduce the encroachment or to lessen the encroachment into the special flood hazard areas as well. A more concise statement concerning flood impact. They asked for greater maintenance responsibilities or clarification of the maintenance responsibilities in the operations plan. There had been questions about the pool filtration system and the necessity of backwash systems, the availability of at least representative flood-proof elements for the pool, the terrace, the walls, and other features. And the commission also asked for a more robust and expanded planting plan to in the vicinity of the wetlands edge to reduce the amount of manicured lawn, filter runoff, stabilize the soil, mitigate for tree loss, and/or enhance the conservation values of the regulated areas and property. They also had the applicant look at the preservation of a few select larger trees in the vicinity of the development. The applicant is here this evening. They have submitted revised plans to address each of those concerns. I'll leave it to Mr. Similides to describe that, but essentially they did develop alternative plans to increase the setback to the wetlands. They made a more robust planting plan with additional plantings. The width of that planted buffer went from 10 feet to like 17 feet, 17 in the range of 17 to 20 feet. They have provided details on the filtration system, which in fact is a cartridge system that does not necessitate backwashing or having a separate sewage disposal system, essentially. They clarified some of where they got the wetland information. They have provided a more concise statement on the flood impact. They also redid the maintenance plan. And they have committed, they have shown elevation standards for the permanent elements of the pool, but those final details will come with the actual structural floodproofing elements, and certifications will come in advance of a building permit. And as they move their way through planning and zoning for a flood damage prevention permit. So with that, Mr. Simile is here, and you can direct his questions to him. I'm available to answer as well.
Good evening. For the record, Andy Sumalides. I'm a principal and professional engineer with Landtech out of Westport. I'll just quickly go through or highlight some of those changes. Just to refresh your memory, this orange line here is the off-site wetland boundary. Some of it we field delineated ourselves, and some of it was taken from historic mapping that was field delineated also. So that is the line, and it's substantially the same as it was at the previous meeting. What we did here was maximize the distance from the pool and improvements from that off-site wetland by leaving little to no room from the setback of the septic system. So that pool is now exactly 25 feet from the septic, maximizing the distance from the wetlands. That allowed us to enhance that planted buffer even more so, save that willow tree, supplant it with some shrubs, and that's why we're here to present tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Michael?
I'll take a pause, let other commissioners ask questions or add comments.
No questions or comments, thank you. I don't have any either.
Carolyn?
Is the willow a weeping willow, or is it another type of willow, like a black or white willow? Do you know?
We don't know.
You don't know, okay. Okay, I was only asking, okay, because from what I understand, the weeping willows do have an invasive root system, so I was wondering if someone would be evaluating that to make sure that it's not going to be interfering with the project. And I read that many landscapers don't recommend them for residential planting because of that. I also wanted to see, just have it evaluated for health because because it's in the upland review area and they're prone to disease and certain pests and things, and I just would want to be careful that chemicals aren't used to try to take care of it if it's, so just to have it evaluated. I also had a question about the 6-inch PVC that's in the upland review area, the 130 linear feet. Could you just describe what the sort of trench that will be dug for that, the depth and the width of that for the 130 feet?
Sure.
That will be.
You might actually have a detail on that. Okay. So it's basically with a 6-inch pipe, probably 2 foot wide trench, 2 feet down. You lay some crushed stone on the bottom of it, lay the pipe, and then you backfill.
Okay. And also the stormwater operations and maintenance plan at the end of the drainage report, I see that it's there, but it hasn't been strengthened to have that stronger language from, what was it exactly?
I think we changed should to shall.
Right, exactly. Recommended the frequency, it should be changed from yes to shall. And that's all I have for right now.
Michael, go back to you if you wanted to.
Sure. So Can you explain to me, you said that you considered other prudent and feasible alternatives. What were they in relation to the pool equipment and proximity to the wetland? And per your current revision, what is the distance of the pool equipment to the wetland?
The pool equipment would be probably roughly 35 feet from the wetland.
And how close is it to the upland review area?
What do you mean to the upland? Within
Well, there's the actual wetland, and then there's the
50
upland review, the 50-foot
So
upland
it's
review
within
area.
it.
I'm sorry?
The pool equipment is within the 50 foot.
Did you consider other alternatives that we discussed the last meeting?
Correct. So just to
And walk us through those, please.
Sure. So the pool equipment, again, is anchored to the back of that wall. So there's no impact to the ground. So we strongly feel there's no impact at all from this pool equipment in its current location. So we did early on in the design look at alternatives of could the pool equipment go somewhere in this vicinity, but then you still have to trench to get all the utilities now, or all the piping back to the pool, right? So, and then you're dealing with septic and crossing a whole bunch of infrastructure here in order to get that pool equipment piping from here to here. So that would create more disturbance than where the current location is.
What's the distance between the proposed alternative to the pool?
The distance from the alternative to the pool?
The alternative that you're discussing, what is the approximate distance?
Approximate 60 feet from the pool equipment.
How large is the pool?
It is a 10 by 22 foot pool.
Okay. So you're saying digging a trench at 30 feet is materially more disruptive than to have the pool equipment in proximity to the wetland?
Correct.
It's more disruptive
To have the pool equipment
to
further
move the pool
away
equipment
and trench to the
farther
pool.
away from the wetland
Correct.
than it is to keep it in its current location,
Correct.
closer to the wetland.
Correct.
Because one, you can hang it on the wall on one side.
Correct.
And the other is you have to
I have
dig.
to create a pedestal for it, which is outside the
you have to-
upland
hold on.
review area.
You have to dig a 30-foot trench for the pipe for the pool equipment,
No, 60 feet.
60 feet.
Yeah, from the pool equipment. The pool equipment would need to sit here, right where this dashed red line is.
And
is the
why-
building setback,
Okay, why would the pool equipment need to be 60 feet from the pool?
because we have septic here. There's nowhere else. If you're trying to get outside this orange line, right, this is your upland review area, and we're trying to site pool equipment from here down, and then you have this red line, you have the building here, and then you're basically trying to put it in this footprint. So you have septic tanks, you have galleries, you can't put the equipment over the galleries. So there's this little bit of corner right here that's a possibility. You'd have to build a pedestal for it to be up above the base flood, and then you have to trench from here to get to the pool with all of the plumbing. So that would create more disturbance than just hanging it off the back of the wall and your plumbing just goes basically down and into your pool. You're gonna trench a lot more in this area.
Well, that's presuming, okay. That's presuming, what's the compass orientation? Where's north?
Straight up.
Okay, so that means without any consideration of putting the pool equipment to the west, you're saying your only feasible alternative is to put pool equipment to the south where the septic lives,
If you put the pool equipment here, like where some AC condensers are,
right?
this orange line again is your upland review area. We're trenching again through here to get all the plumbing back.
Well, what about where the propane tank is?
Yeah, you still need to trench through all this upland review area.
No, your propane tank is to the southwest. Up against the
Right here?
structure. Right, yeah.
You're still.
It's out of your septic. It's out of your septic,
Right,
right?
but you're still trenching through here. You still need to get a trench to the pool. My thing, my my reasoning is you're trenching through this orange. Now you don't need a trench. Your pool equipment's hanging right behind the pool. Your piping goes right into your pool. Now you're gonna create all this disturbance through here with all your trenching to get your piping to the pool. And the pool equipment, again, is hanging off the back of the wall. There's no disturbance for the pool equipment. I mean,
Well, I would respectfully, I disagree with you on that. Can you explain your overflow and your backflow on the pool equipment?
there is none.
There is none?
No.
So when you need to drain the pool, where does the water go?
The actual pool?
The pool water, when you need to
The
drain,
pool
where
water,
does the
pool
water
company
go?
comes and takes the water out.
They're
Into-
gonna bring a truck and they're gonna
Correct.
manually pull the water out.
Correct, that's what typically happens. Because they don't drain it fully, they just drain it to a certain level.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay.
I have one other
Please.
question. So there was mention made in one of the emails to you about putting in a demarcation feature, and I think the response was that there's a fence there to delineate the wetlands, but usually we ask for a demarcation feature like when a buffer is put in so that you know, like landscapers don't start mowing into the buffer area, so there's usually like low embedded rocks or a fence there. But since you have a fence behind it, you probably would want to do the low-lying rocks, but
Right,
is
we're
that-
fine with that.
Okay, okay, and also, you know, if there's, you know, someone else lives there at some point in the
Right.
future, we don't want them to just, you know, we
Yeah.
want there to be something that says that this is an area that should be protected.
That's fine.
Okay, and also, I don't know, was there a plant list included, or?
Yes.
Okay, and I just wanted to ensure those are not cultivars, but mostly
True natives.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other commissioner? Okay. Rick? You want to write up a draft for our approval? Andy, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, moving on. We have EPC 21-2024, PL 24-109, 129 Near Water Lane, J. Metcalf, to construct new patio stairs and other related features proximate to Holly Pond, and other areas of resource property lies along the west side of Near Water Lane, approximately 1,000 feet north of Brush Island Road, and is identified as map number 56, lot number 27. The zone is R1, and it is approximately 1.925 acres.
So Chairman, if you recall, at last month's meeting, there was extensive testimony provided in regards to this small patio that's also doubling as a stormwater treatment facility in between some pretty substantially sized trees. The applicant got an arborist. They did a very good job on developing recommendations to make sure that this would not be impactful on the trees and the roots. They came up with a whole development scheme that's going to be overseen by a Connecticut arborist. There were submission of statements concerning flood impacts and structural floodproofing, and extensive planting plan had been provided. Recommendations from the commission on the planting plan have been incorporated into this draft that you've asked me to provide on a resolution. I'm available to answer any questions, and it's up for a vote this evening.
I believe the commission members have a copy of the draft. Any comments or questions? Rick, I assume Jim has done his dotting the I and crossing the T's. Did Jim got back to you?
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no,
no.
he did not.
Jim, no?
Nope.
No.
All right, that's an email tonight. Okay, okay,
I have
yes.
one question. Yes, I was happy to see that as conditions, the proposed landscape enhancement plans shall be modified to incorporate several tree natives. And also notice of a wetland permit, notice of a drainage maintenance, and notice of landscape maintenance filed on the land records. So my only question is, the plants that were, and I guess it's not really germane to this, but the plants that were installed last year in 2023, the plants that are down by the pond's edge, why did that not come to us? I'm just curious as to, why they were approved.
Planning and zoning staff actually endorsed that plan, and it was felt that it was a conservation-based activity since they did not involve any substantial changes of grade or anything like that. So they did a plan that provided for some stabilization enhancement of the
Yeah,
pond's
I saw
edge.
them. Yeah, no, it was good.
I have to tell you that, since we have, had this discussion at last month's meeting, the applicant's horticulturist has already submitted a plan in an attempt to address the board's concerns about adding additional conservation-based shrubs and making sure true natives are introduced into the landscape.
Okay, good.
I have not looked at it yet, but I did see that came in. We did have a discussion about it.
Great.
Okay. So I guess I need a motion to approve. Bill?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of EPC 21-24-129 New Waterway.
Second the motion for 2124, 129 New Waterway.
All in favor? Thank you. Moving on, EPC 2324. PL 24-126-32 Relihan Road, Francis Development LLC, to construct a new single-family dwelling, drive, drainage, utilities, and other related features proximate to wetlands and water courses. The property lies along the east side of Relihan Road, approximately 285 feet south of LaForge Road, and is identified as map number 45, lot number 87. The zone is R1 1/5. And it is approximately 0.2 acres. Rick?
Mr. Chairman, if you recall at last month's meeting, that a public hearing was conducted on this particular application. It was a redevelopment of an existing parcel that had both a residence and a detached garage on it. Issues were identified. Just for the record, there were no wetlands on the property, intermittent water courses on the adjoining properties to the north and east, and the regulatory setback protruded up onto beyond property boundaries onto the site, and it affects part of the area that is currently being redeveloped by the applicant. New single-family dwelling, extensive drainage systems to mitigate impacts. If you recall, there was extensive testimony about ensuring that, one, from the overall site development plan, that there would be no adverse impacts on drainage and adjoining properties for all the study storms, 2 to 50 years intensity, both volume and peak rate of runoff. There was test hole data that was provided in the vicinity of the basement, and the project engineer had also, as a backup, provided a separate system in the event that they put a sump pump in, but provided a mitigating system for a sump pump drainage. In the area, as you remember from the testimony from some of the abutting property owners, there was concerns about drainage and seasonal ponding on their properties, and the board took great care to make sure that it was extensively studied, certified by the engineer, and that our consulting engineer reviewed that information and was in agreement with about the absence of impact and the study, the soil test data that demonstrated they had no groundwater in the vicinity of the basement up to 9 feet in depth. There was also testimony concerning environmental impact. And then there was a landscaping plan, and a great deal of the testimony concerned the landscaping plan, what had been chosen as plants, what was the function and value of it, was it a conservation value, a series of plantings, etc. So with that, the hearing was closed at the end of last month's meeting, and staff was directed to draft this resolution for the board's consideration. And in that, I tried to hit all the highlights about what the questions and concerns were. I'm available to answer questions, and that's it.
Does any commissioner have questions or comments for Rick? Okay, I believe each of you have received a copy of the draft. And,
You have a question?
I have one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, one comment. So everything that Rick said, yes. However, I was wondering if we could just very slightly amend the wording
Sure.
on page 4, where it says, a landscape mitigation plan has been proposed to displace lawn, filter runoff, screen abutters, and improve the overall conservation values of the regulated areas and property. And, we discussed, and I'm not going into the discussion that we had about the plant material that was discussed last time. I accept the reasoning for why they chose what they did. But what I thought we could say instead is just a landscape mitigation plan has been proposed to displace lawn, filter runoff, screen abutters, and improve the and screen abutters, and then say select plantings may also improve the conservation value of the regulated areas of property, because some of them don't. So I just think it makes sense to phrase it that way, because otherwise it looks like we're thinking that what they're putting in, like Norway spruce certainly doesn't do that, or the green giant arborvitae. So I understand the reasoning for doing it. I just don't want it to seem like we think those are improving the conservation value of the property.
All right, well, if you can give that wording
Mm-hmm.
to Rick to amend. So,
I thought it was a thoughtful plan. I thought it was very well thought through. I think they offered more than typical applicants for new construction come before the board, and I was generally happy with the proposal. So I
Great.
read the resolution and I'm in agreement.
Same thing, I thought there was a careful analysis and a very thoughtful presentation on this application.
I watched Channel 79 and agree with both of you on their comments.
okay,
Same.
then, Rick, then can I have a motion to approve, please?
Want me to do that?
Yes, please.
I'm into this now.
I mean, you're on my left.
I'm on the left.
You're on my left.
right.
After a couple of
Getting
years,
better
you
at
think
this.
you know,
I'm getting
right?
better at this now. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of 24-126, 22 Relihan Road.
Second, the motion to approve the resolution on 24-126, 32 Reliant.
All in favor? Next time, don't sit to my left.
No question.
That was my fault.
Let Carolyn be in the hot seat.
Oh.
All right, moving on, EPC 26-24, PL 24-143, 15 Weeks Landing, D. Vene and J. Vene do renovate an existing single-family dwelling, construct residential additions, and install pool, patio, drainage, and other related features proximate to Holly Pond and other areas of resource. Property lies along the terminus of Weeds Landing, approximately 500 feet south of the Boston Post Road, and is identified as map number 53, lot number 61E. The zone is R1/2, and it is approximately 0.54 acres.
Mr. Chairman, just a very brief description of the property and the project. They are proposing to do renovations of the dwelling, add residential additions, and do an elevated patio, pool, and other related features on the property. The property is before us because the activities lie within 100 feet of the waters of Holly Pond. The property is currently developed, single-family dwelling, drive, drainage, walkways, patios, and other related facilities. The property, if you're looking at it from a coastal perspective, has coastal flood hazard area on it, modified escarpment, which would be the seawall, shorelands, the areas that's not affected by the flooding, tidal wetlands, which are at the base of the wall, and estuarine abatement, which of course is the waters of Holly Pond. In terms of trees on the property and other resources, they're generally confined to around the perimeter, larger trees. There's a number of foundation shrubs around the building itself. Again, no inland wetlands on the property. The flood hazard boundary, it stays very narrow to the shoreline, and around the wall. It's a V-zone designation. Does not make its way up into the body of the lot or affect the dwelling as it currently sits. Again, there's a number of activities that are being proposed along the rear face of that dwelling. The project engineer has submitted a site development plan. It's lying in currently developed space that's currently occupied by lawn and landscapes and an existing patio and some other features. There's no direct encroachments into the waters of Holly Pond, no encroachments into tidal wetland, or in a special flood hazard area. About 2,650 square feet of the upland review area is affected. Grade alterations are in the low to moderate range. There's no significant trees, although there'll be a couple of trees, small trees around the perimeter that are going to be affected. Setbacks are being maintained to the edge of the water with the terrace and the other features. A drainage and water quality plan has been proposed by the applicant. Because they're so close to the waters of Long Island Sound, no real need to detain stormwater because it drops in the sound, and the infinite storage of Long Island Sound will mitigate any impact, and it does drain in that direction. But they have proposed a structured drainage system, and it's basically for water quality treatment. And so you'll see that on the plans. They're installing some Coltex to treat water with a portion of the dwelling, and they have a basic operations and maintenance plan. They have an erosion control plan that will provide some protection for the waters of Long Island Sound. They identified storage and stockpile. And last but not least is that they have provided a really very good planting plan for the water's edge. It's on the landward side of the wall, but it includes a number of trees and ground covers that are going to fit pretty well into the landscape in being in the coastal environment and tolerant of the conditions that you have there, including things like St. John's wort and blue flag iris and switchgrass and seaside goldenrod, but they're also doing a couple of white oaks and American holly, which have conservation value as well.
Quick question. I know around Holly Pond there are special designated areas by the state. We had it as 17 Nickerson, as I recall. Does that special designation extend to this property?
You know, all of Holly Pond it has that bubble around it on the wildlife, potential areas of special concern. But these properties are, again, highly developed, not a lot of tree cover. And the development here is very tightly confined to the space around the existing dwelling. I don't anticipate it's going to be, in this case, problematic, unlike Nickerson, where they were taking a great number of trees down along the edge of those greens, evergreens.
Well, we all know what happened. So,
Right.
I just wanted to be sure that it's on the record that we recognize that it's recognized by the state, and that, in your opinion, it's not, the development is confined and not going to affect that. Okay, I wanted to get that.
And the applicant's here this evening with their entire team, engineering
Wow.
and environmental.
Hi, guys. Please identify yourself and...
Hi, for the record, my name is Brett Holsworth. I'm a senior associate and professional engineer with Redness and Mead. With me is Matt Popp, the landscape architect, and Pat Shore, also an engineer at Redness and Mead. Rick, thank you for the the assessment. Just to go over real quickly, this property is developed with the house. The pool that they're proposing is a very small pool. It's only 8 by 15, so much smaller than a typical 20 by 40, larger pool. The building additions are relatively small bump outs. The main body of the house is staying relatively the same. The driveway is staying the same except for a small bump out where they're renovating a portion of the building to add a third bay for parking. There's existing terraces in the backyard that are remaining. They're expanding those terraces minimally. And overall, they're increasing coverage by about 1,000 square feet. And we're mitigating the water quality, like Rick said, by capturing 1,300 square feet of roof cover. So more than what we were increasing. So the water quality is being met. The pool and patio are outside of the flood hazard zone. They're about 22 feet from the seawall, upland in a manicured lawn area. I think there's only 2 small trees that are being affected. And then if you so choose, Matt can walk you through the additional plantings that we are proposing to improve the aesthetics and conservation values. Another point that we wanted to mention was Ty and Bond did review the plan. They did come back with 2 minor comments, which we were addressed. They revised their statement saying they acknowledged the 2 comments and no further.
That was Joe Canas?
Yes,
Okay,
Joe Canas.
thank you.
Yeah. From an engineering and drainage standpoint, they reviewed it and they concurred with our design. I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, you
Go.
want to go first? Who wants to go first?
You go.
Okay. So we're always trying to figure out how to enhance the conservation value of a location. And you're adding a little more development closer again to Holly Pond, a superb estuary that we're trying to protect. So I'm not sure what you've done to enhance that. One of my biggest pieces is we're trying to keep fertilizers and pesticides out of Holly Pond. The blooms in there are insane. So what have you done on this project? I'm not worried about the flooding aspect of water, but I'm
Right.
worried about just sheet flow coming off the grasses, which everybody is putting stuff on, and you can't seem to stop that. So
Okay.
how are we going to prevent that?
I would invite Matt to come up and
All right.
speak to the plantings.
Thanks.
Good evening, I'm Matthew Pop, a landscape architect that prepared the planting plan before you. House is here, the road's out here, Holly Pond back over here. There's a retaining wall along the rear of the property. There's currently some existing buffer in this area, and then down over here there's a few trees right through here. Right in the center of the site, there's lawn right up to the wall. So right in that area, we're proposing blue flag iris, a band of that to kind of treat any runoff that would sheet flow in this area down to our Holly Pond. So that is intended to kind of filter this runoff here. Right where the drainage structure is located here, we got switchgrass located right below it.
Is that where the pop-up is?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, right here, yep. And then down over here, I think there's some daylilies there, but we're putting in some seaside goldenrod just to kind of enhance that area. And then along the property line over here, again, we do have some American holly, some shrubs, and more switchgrass. I didn't propose any trees or any large growing things over here because usually people want the view. You put them in, they get cut down. So like American holly here. The American holly kind of screens the neighbor, but it won't block the view outward. We do have a street tree out here too. There's no overhead utility lines, which is great. And that will help for enhance the wildlife habitat, I think to enhance the streetscape, and hopefully eventually provide some shading, which would be good for reducing thermal pollution.
Okay. So how thick is the berm along the decide there where you
Right.
I guess, in order to catch, if it's really raining like crazy, I know the first flush takes most of the fertilizer with it.
Yeah,
You think it's adequate to stop most of that from dropping into the pond, or I don't know, it's how realistic we can be, but something's better.
I have, 75 of the blue flag iris. They spread pretty quick. If you want, we could always, bump that up.
Okay. Yeah, whatever we could do to.
Yeah, and I think.
I totally understand that the front yard is going to go down a storm drain and right in anyway, so.
But this is probably the most important part right here, I think.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Matt, what is the elevation of the pool, the top of wall for the pool? And what is the elevation for your iris patch?
So, just in comparison, I know you're not going to be able to see the elevations, but the pool patio is on around 18 elevation versus the flood elevation, which is 14, which is kind of on the slope of the rear yard. And the top of seawall is around 11. So the pool is about 7 feet higher than where the plantings would be.
What is the distance from the planting bed to the pool wall?
Let's see.
Approximate. We don't have to- I know you redness me guys like to bring your rulers.
I would say, about 15 to 20.
Yeah, just
Okay.
You like these little guys?
And how wide is the planting bed for the iris?
Probably, 4 to 5 feet, I would say.
Okay. So, Matt, you've done a lot of gorgeous plantings along water courses and waterfronts and Holly Pond. If I was the homeowner and I was gonna be 7 feet above the Holly Pond shore, right? What would be the terminology you would use? Where the lawn abuts the beach? What do we call that? Yeah.
Well, it's a seawall.
And there's
so-
tidal
The sea-
wetlands below,
yeah.
and this blue line, I don't know if you faint, that's not actually the water line. The water line is actually a little bit further out.
We'll go with water line. That's a good, seawall and
water
water
line,
line, right?
yeah.
Okay, so it's not really an area because it's 15 feet, right? It's not really an area that someone's gonna be using a lawn area. So what's your thought on making that just more robust? So when there is sheet flow, there's more planting bed. And maybe the planting bed is bermed up a bit, right? So like, guys, look at me a second because I don't know how to describe it. But, it literally is like a berm.
It might be better to actually have a depression instead of a berm.
That's why you're the
So,
landscape
if you're trying to
architect.
catch
That's
water.
what you're not.
That's why I'm not.
So it would drop in and hopefully.
And by the wall.
And then have another barrier.
Yeah, even if it was, 5 or 6 inches or so, 6
Yeah.
inches or so, just so it,
So anything can get a speed,
first flush.
like
go
a
into
speed
that.
bump and in reverse for water.
Yeah.
So you just have, you have like a wonderful palette to put native species of plants and a lawn area that isn't really a expanse lawn area, of which I would say then make the landscaping plan more robust, which would serve double duty for erosion control and runoff of fertilizers into the Holly Pond.
Again, it's not all that big an area of lawn area, kind of, up above the iris.
And I would like to, mention, they do use that lawn area. It is the only, backyard space that they do. They have kids who, throw the football around, and, they do try to use the space that they have. So.
But if you didn't have the pool, hold on a second, is the pool existing?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have the pool, you'd have more lawn area, right?
Yes.
So I think it would be a
they're
really
trying to-
good idea to have more robust planting.
Okay. I mean,
So
since.
we could increase those numbers of iris.
I mean, look, if they
And I
had
think-
more, like, as a commission, we can't grow the applicants more land, right?
Right.
We work with the sandbox that's provided. So it would be nice if there was more backyard, but if you want a patio and you want a pool it's a zero-sum game, right? And our focus is what is very prevalent, which is what a lot of our fellow neighbors complain about, is all the runoff into the Holly Pond. And I don't, respectfully speaking, I don't think a 3 to 4 foot wide lily planting pad is going to do as good a job as a more robust planting bed for runoff that Mr. Wright is mentioning.
But that little pad or little strip is better than what exists currently.
Well, it's better than nothing, but we can
Yes.
do better.
So,
And-
you can always do better, but it's a balancing act. But again, I think if we made that just a slight depression to catch that, that first flush.
And we are providing the, the Caltech systems to collect and treat stormwater. So, what used to go from the roofs directly onto the sheet flow, onto the lawns, is now being collected and treated. And probably, based on test bits, it's beach sand, it goes right through. So you won't hardly ever see any of the runoff captured from a significant portion of the existing house compared to what's there now. So, that is providing benefits, not only storm management for larger storms, but for water quality, first runoff, and pollutants.
Matt,
So that
I
is a
got a
benefit.
quick question. You speaking, if you have you have one neighbor who keeps true to, let's say, organic fertilization or just natural maintenance of a lawn area that is on Holly Pond, and you have a neighbor who's got, the landscaper slamming every type of fertilizer, herbicide, et cetera, on the lawn all season long, do you see, can the neighbors look on the pond and say, well, based on the plumes and the algae, that all that runoff just keeps pushing to that seawall area, and that's why there's so much of that invasive growth on the water? Or
You'll
does
never
it
be able
just,
to pin it to one place.
but does it congregate in an area?
No, it'll congregate in areas that are shallow, but it's not going to hang out in front of their house per se. What we'd like to hope is.
There's a current.
No,
There's a natural current
know all
in-
those things. I know all those things.
But I know where you're going. It would be
Yeah.
great that we could start to see an example like these, where they start doing it, and then everybody starts picking up on it. It would then be a
Right.
beautiful thing.
Because I just ran around Holly Pond this evening, and I was actually looking at it,
There you
right?
go.
So,
So
that's
when I went out there, typically I get a project on Holly Pond, I think, oh, there's lawn right down to the Holly Pond throughout the whole site. But this project, it's only just a small area here. Over here, they do have a pretty good buffer, and then definitely down over here, they got trees and a lot of ground cover in this area here. So there is a lot of existing buffer
The
there.
interesting thing about that lot is just to the north is a cemetery back in there, which is full of very large old trees and very old tombstones, headstones. It's not their property, but it goes from a very developed to all of a sudden a nice little natural area. So the more you can tie into that natural area would be a beautiful thing. In any case.
For the Caltech techs, are there any other inputs other than the roof system?
No, it's proposed just to collect roof runoff.
And what's the construction of the roof? It's asphalt shingle?
Yes, I believe they're putting in a new roof, so I don't know if.
I don't know the exact.
Yeah, I don't know the roof construction, but I would imagine it's typical residential.
So what would the normal contaminants from a roof be? Asphalt residue on a new roof, or?
Dust, bird droppings, things like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that would be my
it's not.
And heat or warm.
Right.
Would there be any enhancement to adding any other intakes, sheet floor or anything like that into the Caltech system? Or are you not envisioning the capacity of that Caltech system?
No, there's not a whole lot of other pollutants other than, roadways. Roadways have catch basins with sumps that collect pollutants and trash and leaves and stuff. But, on a residential property that doesn't have a lot of those kind of factors, the Caltech is really designed to capture and increase the water quality compared to what is out there today, and slow down the water flow, and recharge the groundwater. It's not really intended to treat pollutants per se.
So back to that lawn strip, what is the proposal on the plan of maintenance or fertilizers, lack of fertilizers that is being proposed?
Well, in this area, you wouldn't have to do anything, once it's installed. You're not fertilizing.
Yeah, the lawn between there and the pool, especially.
I did include some, kind of notes for healthy, environmentally friendly landscape practices. Before you fertilize, test the soil.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting at is there something we can add into the resolution that would deal with the maintenance and care of, particularly of that area, so that the homeowner doesn't, get your typical lawn guy and throws a lot of fertilizer into that area?
I think we're trying to educate people about this, and this is where it can start, and tell them, that we want you, because it's affecting a very important water source, to do it differently.
Matt, is nitrogen? Does it matter whether it's somehow organic? I'm not.
No, I don't.
It's nitrogen,
Yes.
right? And you just don't want to fill Holly Pond with a lot of nitrogen, right?
So again,
It's the
I
byproduct.
think by having this area here, a small depression to collect that runoff is your best bet.
So describe the depression. Describe how deep a depression we're talking about.
Maybe it's like 6 inches or so by 4 feet wide.
So it kind of
So
create
maybe
a
there's
vernal
like a
pond of
swale.
some sort?
Almost a rain garden-ish
Yes,
kind of.
I don't want to call it a rain garden, but yeah, rain garden.
It's not going to have the, permeability.
And why wouldn't that tie into the Caltech since it's so
Well,
close?
it's raised up, so this is kind of
Yeah, it's
lower.
lower.
I would say there's no need to, it's kind of providing that, this would infiltrate into the ground anyway. So they're both water quality treatments.
So you're thinking of a depression that might be 6 inches that would be a holding depression so that there's no natural runoff into the
Yeah, the sheet flow from here would come down, if it's a small rainfall, it would come down and it would collect in through this strip here, and filter through that soil and into the ground instead of, over the wall.
Does the wall have any weep holes?
Probably, I would think, most walls probably.
It does.
It has one.
It does.
Yeah,
It has a weep hole.
because otherwise it would probably be.
Ground pressure goes through.
Yeah,
I mean,
you don't want-
typically a wall would have weep holes to
Otherwise, you're
prevent the
losing.
pressure from destroying the wall.
Yeah, it'd be, the wall would probably be tipping over.
So if there's fertilizer into this depression and it's seeping out through the weep holes, what have we really accomplished?
Well, it would filter through the soils, from the surface down to where the weep holes are a few feet deeper. And that filtration allows, some pollutant reductions.
Where's your, going on what you're saying, where's the compass orientation? Where's north?
Up.
Okay, and then does
Then
the,
after
gr-
that-
Slightly
Naturally,
over to the right.
okay,
This
so
one.
as you head to the cemetery, is the topography getting higher? Or is it all relatively the same topography going toward Holly Pond?
I believe
High to low?
it's about the same, about the same elevation along the seawall.
Could you swale,
Goes up.
and what you're saying is these are more heavily vegetated areas to the southwest and the northwest. Could you swale that area in front of the pool? So you have your depression, you have your thicker ground cover planting bed. Could you
Well,
swale
if you
it to the
swale
bigger,
it, then you're gonna concentrate flow in one spot. For this, if it's sheet flow, which you want, it would, filter over a long strip.
Well, no,
It'd be
I follow what
swale.
you're saying, but you could do two things, is one, right, or tell me I'm wrong, is you can have your depression, right? You can have your mechanical catcher, because water's gonna go there, and so, that's gonna happen. But then could you also change the grade a little bit, where the water could land to the northwest and the southwest, into the heavily vegetated areas. So now you kind of got a little belt and suspender approach.
Or maybe the cul-de-sac is on the wrong spot. Maybe the cul-de-sac should be I'm looking at this north being this way to the south end.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is, we don't want to displace water onto neighboring properties. That is something very important. We don't want to create more disturbance by ripping up the whole yard, creating a swale, regrading everything. It's better, from the patio down, other than the plantings, we're not touching any grading. We're not disturbing, we're not getting backhoes and trucks to regrade everything. And as Matt said, it's better to just collect a sheet flow and collect it on a long axis rather than point discharging it to the top and the bottom.
That's a good.
And I just don't know even if it's realistic to have a swale of that.
The other question, right, so one other thing I was just gonna think of is, Matt, how long is that middle planting bed? What's the length?
So if the
I'm gonna pull up the road.
pool is 15 feet, it's probably about 30.
So we're
About.
talking 15, so that patch there is 15 by 30 feet. It's slightly larger than a pool, for everybody to think of a size of a land area. So that's not really a lot of sheet flow that's gonna be on the lawn anyways. So.
No, so that's why it doesn't need to be that big.
So, yeah.
That's why
I told you I was remedial.
That's why, a smaller buffer like that, it's not taking a big brunt of runoff.
Right.
I think one of the things we're interested in is, this is a new concept that I've heard, and if this could work, and I'd like to see it in a fairly good rain, we're going to start adapting this in other places like around Holly Pond too, so.
That's a great idea.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah, definitely, preventing lawn from going right up to the shore or the seawall is something very advisable, and having that buffer is helpful.
Great.
Carolyn?
Yeah, a couple things. So the NOFA preferred landscaping practices that are on the planting plan, are those referring to the installation of this planting plan only, or?
Yeah, well, it's like lawn, it's for the site. So a lot of these refer to like the lawn before you fertilize the site, you would get the soil tested.
So
you want to just get the soil tested, in these landscape areas, you would do it for the.
right. So
Yeah.
so in other words, this is something that's going to be conveyed to the homeowner, that this is a management practice that you recommend for the site based on its proximity to Holly Pond and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So that sort of addresses.
He gives a shot at educating.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yes.
right.
It's only a shot.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
question, how, is this just something that will verbally be conveyed to the homeowner?
It's on the plan, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
And so I noticed that this one was from the 5th edition, NOFA's 5th edition, and there's a more current one from 2017, a 6th edition. I'm just curious as to why you use this one and not.
There's probably a 7th edition by now, too.
Coming out,
So,
yes.
yeah, so.
Yeah, so, sorry.
So.
Sorry, because I did pull that up on my computer, and they said that there's a new one coming out
I don't know
in
what the
early
differences are, so.
2025. But there is a one that's more recent. This may not be much difference, but I was just wondering if there was a reason why if you favored this particular one. And then on the other side of the planting plan, there is, it's like boilerplate language that I think we see on a lot, under the general notes. Number 3, plant species substitutions may be made with the approval of the project landscape architect prior to planting. Just says they have to be of the equal or greater size and so forth. I just wish that we could put in here that if substitutions are made, that they are also true natives, and not because, someone might say, well, yes, our permit says that we have to use true natives, but it also says here that we can make substitutions based on availability and all of that, and we can't get these true natives, so we're going to put these in.
But like a lot of times what would happen would be like the oak. They can't get that one oak, swamp white oak, so they call me and they say, what about pin oak? and they would say, oh, yeah, okay. that's-
Okay, as
yeah.
long as it's of the,
Yeah, try to be comparable,
Right, and then, so then also down here again, boilerplate language, they talk about the, spraying for deer and all of that. But if you go back over to the NOFA standards, it says that the wildlife management all has to be done with, so it'll be, what's stated over here will be superseded by the NOFA standards
Yeah,
of
yeah.
using the soap and the herbal and vegetable
Yeah, like
repellents. Okay.
yeah.
And then the other thing, just lasting, I was surprised to see actually that one of the plants, where are my notes? One of the plants, oh yes, one of the plants, the St. John's wort, the Yukon College of Agriculture, Health and Natural Sciences says that in Connecticut it's considered invasive and may escape cultivation and naturalize in minimally managed areas, so.
I've never seen it in the wild, so.
Okay,
yeah,
so this is a plant that you, even though
even
it's
if-
on
yeah,
it,
and even if
it's in red,
exchanged.
it's even in
Yeah.
brighter print on the website. You would still feel comfortable using this?
Yes.
And you wouldn't feel inclined to make a substitution like wild ginger or something like that?
Again, trying to get plants that the deer don't, tend not to eat.
Okay.
So as soon as you take the plants off, then you end up with, the selection is very small to begin with.
Okay.
That they don't eat. So I wouldn't want to substitute it for something, that you put in and then, a month later it's gone.
But you do not perceive this as being
never
like an
seen it.
ecological threat or anything
No.
in this
And again, if it's
particular
native,
location?
if it's if it's invasive, then it should be already on the site.
Yeah, they said that yeah, okay. It actually, again, I'm only telling you what I read.
Yep.
It said it's not native to this region and
Yep.
that it's a spreader. It says it's like native to New Jersey west.
Yep.
So,
Is it I'm sorry, is it invasive?
they said it's a spreader. It says it can have the potential to be invasive.
I
Those are
always
the-
think a spreader is good, because to me, it's a better chance that the plant's going to survive. If you get something that's a lot more sensitive, that's limited, you put it in,
I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask because you're the
Yeah.
expert, I'm not,
No.
and that's, and that's all that I have.
Okay.
Can I ask one other question? It's somewhat related, not actually related, but maybe I can learn something from it. Are you starting to see anybody where they have lawn going down to a storm drain, actually starting to plant some kind of a buffer in front of those to keep the sheet flow from fertilizers and stuff going into storm drains?
Only
I mean,
if
if
you
we
need
have
a
a
permit.
100-foot distance, we could actually have one of those one day. I'm just curious if anybody's doing that. I probably don't want that lawn looking like change before it gets to the road.
yeah. No, you only usually if it's associated with a permit. So,
You answered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, people don't do that by preference. Yeah.
no, because they don't know. I
They
think
don't,
it goes back to,
exactly.
yeah, they don't.
I'm just curious. Okay, thanks.
Can I just say one more thing? I did want to say, you guys have a great operations and maintenance plan because we so often get them where they have very vague wording about whose responsibility it is to maintain it, and then they also say, that something should be done as opposed to shall being done. Yours says right off the top that it's the property owner that's responsible and says shall, and I appreciate that.
Great.
So
Good.
So just one more question.
never gonna get out of
I'm sorry.
I'm just questioning the location to the westerly side, right next to the tidal wetland line. It can't be, that corner can't be much more than 2 feet or so away from the tidal wetland. Why isn't that moved a little bit more to the easterly direction, away from the wetland? The tidal
You're talking
wetland?
about the Caltech system? Oh, well, we need proper pitch to get pipe and enough cover to get the piping to where the system would effectively, collect it.
I'm just looking at the height
is
there and the
clo-
pitch. I mean, it's actually
Sorry, I'm just
a little
switching.
bit lower if you move to the east.
Yeah, meaning if you move it further away from Holly Pond, is that what you're
Exactly,
suggesting?
that's right.
Yeah, so the grade slopes fairly steeply, so if you move 5 feet, you're another foot in elevation higher. And I'm not sure if we would have, proper depth for the
perk.
piping. So I mean, it's certainly something we could look at, bringing it a little bit further away.
Okay.
I think the concern is that has an overflow on it, right?
Correct. Yeah, it has.
So could you move the overflow farther away from the Holly Pond?
Well, the overflow has to be over the system. It's also doubles that as a inspection port, so it has like a little.
No,
pop-up.
I know what that is.
Yeah, okay. Then it has to be right in front of it. But we could certainly look at shifting it. We'd probably have about 5 feet, of a wiggle room that we could entertain.
Can you see if you can do more?
Well, then we're going to be on the patio.
Well, you're the
So-
engineer. You can look into it, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we did test bits out there, we wanted to make sure that we're doing the Caltech system where we tested, because, things can change, but, we feel confident that the system will work. And given the great perk rates, that pop-up is going to be very sparsely used. So it would, for the majority of the large storms even, it would percolate.
I have a pool question. Because we have 2 engineers here this evening, can you guys explain to me how pool filter equipment, or how pool equipment operates, where the backflows are, where the overflows are, how the pool people service the equipment? And when you have pool equipment, you have water in said equipment, and how the water escapes the equipment at the location of the equipment. I noticed that you guys did a great job of putting your equipment pad perpendicular around the corner of the structure, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me approximately, and the pool, the PVC, the piping doesn't go under the house, correct? Or
No,
through the house?
no, it's gonna go
It's a
around.
perpendicular turn. So can you tell us how many linear feet you think that piping is, and then elaborate on how the pool equipment operates, how water may escape, or when it's servicing, chemicals are added to the pool equipment?
So to answer one of your questions, we're probably about 30-40 feet from the pool equipment to the actual pool. That's in an area where the building's additions will be built. It's already disturbed, trenching. It's going to need to be reseeded and landscaped area anyway, so we're not adding extra disturbance for that.
I'm okay
trenching.
with that. I thought what you
Yeah.
proposed was very
Okay.
thoughtful. But just to be clear, because I'm trying to prove a point to a prior application as well. As
We did hear
reference.
that, yes.
And for the benefit of the commissioners is
Yes.
that piping isn't 30 feet. Your piping's probably going to be like 60 feet because it's perpendicular, right? The diagonal might be 30 feet, but to go around the corner of the building, you're going to be much greader than 30 feet. Yeah, right? You have
Plus
a
or
ruler.
minus. I do.
A squared plus B
If you really
squared.
want me to, I will measure it.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, so that's 20, it's 40, 50 feet.
Okay, great.
And then to answer your other questions about the filtration systems, I apologize, but I am not an expert on how pool equipment is working. That's not usually in the scope of a civil engineer. But I can tell you that, if the commission chooses to approve this, we'd be happily accept a condition that it would be a cartridge type system that has no backwash that self filters through.
I don't think it's necessary on this
Yeah.
application because of the proximity of the pad from Holly Pond. But if the applicant would like to do that, I wouldn't argue with it.
Yeah, to be honest, that level of detail has not been fully developed. The type of system for the cartridge versus,
How did you
Sand.
decide to have the pool only be 8 by 15 feet? Was that a prudent, feasible
it
alternative
was-
exercise?
They wanted it bigger, but we couldn't go bigger for building coverage limitations. We went through an exercise where we had to deal with the zoning enforcement officers with certain definitions of building coverage. We got that resolved. But yeah, they wanted to go bigger, but now they're kind of settling for a kind of plunge pool. Yeah.
And was it was a spa a coverage issue, or they just said, hey, we're happy with just the pool?
I thought, I think they wanted an actual pool and not a hot tub per se. So I think, they probably enjoy a little bit of swimming with colder water versus a hot tub. I don't know. Okay. That was
I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys did a pretty comprehensive analysis of what the land use was.
We did,
And
yes.
recommended to your client a prudent, feasible solution to the need for a pool and a
Yes.
really great location for the pool equipment. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Good. Thank you. Anything else, Michael?
That's it, man.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great
Thank
job,
you,
Matt.
everyone.
Moving on, we have approval of minutes, September 10, 2024. Everybody's received a copy of the minutes. Any questions or comments?
I sent
For
one
it?
comment.
Go.
I just had one comment,
Oh,
but
okay.
I sent it to him.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, Bill,
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes of September 10th, 2024.
see, it's not that hard.
Second that motion?
All in favor? I'm abstaining because since I did not attend the meeting, even though I saw the video of it.
Oh, well, then I have to abstain too. If you watch the video, can't you
Yeah.
still do it?
Rick?
So I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for September 10th, 2024.
You were there.
Oh, I
You
was
were
there?
there?
Never mind.
Yeah, he was there.
Oh,
Man.
he was there? Okay, good.
So who's making the motion? You?
Hard to get.
He made a motion,
And I second, I approve.
right.
And it was 4-0-1. Okay. There is no other business that I have. Anybody else have anything? So, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Channel 79.